What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again talking college basketball. And today we are talking about the Sunday, January the 25th slate, a short slate, a lot of NFL playoff games. There were some reschedulings. So we have 6 games. We're going to talk about 4 of them. If you like this content, please consider subscribing to the channel or leaving a like on the video. Those 2 things help a small channel like this immensely. It gets us in front of new viewers, just helps us continue to do this and grow if you like game previews. Also, if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. We do reference sides and totals during the breakdowns of these games. So let's dive right into this. We have a couple Big Ten games. First one is USC going to Madison to play Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a 7.5-point favorite in this game. The total is currently 160. For injuries, Rodney Rice and Amarian Dickerson have been out for a while for USC. They currently rank 51st in the country. For rankings, we are using KenPom. They're just a little bit more accurate than stuff like the AP. So their resume so far, they are 14-5, but the strength of schedule has not always been the best this year for USC. They are 46th. They are 34th, but you look at some of their body of work. They have losses to Washington, Michigan, Michigan State, Purdue, and Northwestern. 3 of those are excusable. 2 of them are at 49 or lower, but that's not really the problem. Who are their best wins? Number 50, Seton Hall by 2 points on a neutral court, or 62, Boise State by 3 points on a neutral court. The rest of their wins are outside the top 80. They do have 3 road wins, but overall, this team has not put together a solid body of work in their victories so far, leading to a pretty fragile resume. Wisconsin is 39th. They're also 14-5, losses to BYU, TCU, Nebraska, Villanova, and Purdue. Only one of those is outside the top 30, being TCU on a neutral court. Wisconsin also beat UCLA, Northwestern, and of course, they have the marquee win over Michigan on the road, where literally just couldn't miss from 3 points in that game. Their strength of schedule is 46th. So stylistically, both these teams are very tall. Both these teams are probably a little underachieving at rebounding considering their size. Wisconsin 77th, USC is 110th. As far as shooting goes, USC easily the worst shooting team between the two. 151st in effective field goal percentage. They're okay inside attacking the rim, but they're 230th in three-point percentage, and they're not shooting a ton of threes. When they do, it's basically Jordan Marsh, whose minutes are a roller coaster this series at 41%, or Chad Baker-Mazara. We know he'll shoot. He's at 36%. They did get back Elijah Arenas. He played in their last game. It was his debut. It wasn't a very good game. He did start. He played a lot of minutes, but he went 0 of 6 from 3. It was a very inefficient performance from the field. He's a highly recruited freshman playing his first game. Probably better days ahead, but still remains to be seen. A lot of the offense honestly just comes, they'll kick the ball inside to Osser or Kofi, and then they'll play inside out. In Wisconsin, they're not very good on defense, 63rd overall, especially inside their 169th. Nolan Winter is their only top 50 defender on the entire team. So if USC can figure this out, points are there to be had against Wisconsin. Meanwhile, Wisconsin, they're 60th in effective field goal percentage. This team is 45th in 2-point percent. They're decent at shooting threes, 119th, but they're going to shoot 1 million threes. This team is 13th in 3-point rate. Blackwell's at 39%. Carrington's at 44%. A couple of middling shooters in between there. Basically, how they're playing offense is they're throwing the ball in the paint, kicking it out, using pick and pops. USC is not great defending either of those areas. Basically, when you put their bigs on the move, it's not the best way for them to play. Like a Gabe Dines inside, he's a big, stiff rim protector. Get him on the perimeter, defending like a Nolan Winter shooting threes. It's not going to be a good idea. Their best defenders are Gabe Dines and Chad Baker-Mazara. And aside from Dines being, like a 7'2" stiff rim protector, he can't score, so he can't even stay on the floor. Their best defender is Jacob Kofi. He's actually a top 5 Big Ten defender, but it's still probably not enough to limit Wisconsin. USC is 44th in total defense. They're 21st on the perimeter, 138th inside. There's enough weaknesses here for Wisconsin to take advantage of. On the periphery, Wisconsin generates more turnovers, but they're also 299th in turnovers committed. This is kind of a weird situation. USC is the exact opposite. So I'm not really sure there's an advantage for either team in this area. It's just kind of interesting that you force a lot of turnovers, but you've been so bad. USC generates a ton of fouls, but they also foul a ton themselves. Wisconsin is 114th in fouls generated, so I don't really think that's a major advantage. Long story short, don't really anticipate turnovers or fouls playing a major role, but also wouldn't be surprised if they do, just because there's some pretty bad marks here. The only difference is when these teams foul a lot or turn it over a lot, the opposing team doesn't really take advantage of that. So yeah, USC will turn it over a fair amount. Wisconsin's not going to force any, really. Same thing with USC in fouls. Tempo is pretty good. USC is 58th. Wisconsin is 59th. My main problem is just inefficiency on offense, largely from USC. But that's where we show the most value. Currently have the score 77 to 83.5. It's not a ton, not anything I'm going to play, but that is where we side if you are looking for anything in the game. Next up. To the American, we have an awesome game for a Sunday. Florida Atlantic takes on South Florida. Currently, South Florida is a 5-point favorite. The total is 167. Both these teams are healthy. Florida Atlantic is 92nd in the country. They're 14-6. Most of their losses are redeemable. They only have one loss outside the top 100. It's to Tulane by 3 points on the road. They beat Liberty, George Mason, St. Mary's, Central Florida. They have two losses outside the top 100. They also lost to St. Bonaventure. But the rest of these losses are top 100, and most of them were pretty close, including like St. Mary's, they only lost by 13. Central Florida, they only lost by 5. This is a pretty good body of work for Florida Atlantic. They do have just one top 100 win. It was against Wichita State, who's at 96, and they were at home. Their next best win is against Pacific. That was a blowout, but FAU does have 3 road wins. Body of work for an American team is pretty good here. Strength of schedule is 107. For South Florida, this team is 12-7. They have a fair amount of losses. None of them are really that bad. Their worst one is to UAB, who's 121, and that loss was a double OT loss, 109-106. They don't have a lot of top 100 wins, but they actually have one over Utah State, who is number 34, very good win. And they beat Tulsa, who is kind of the cream of the crop in this conference. They also beat Tulsa on the road, which is noteworthy. So South Florida, good body of work, losses against good teams. They don't have any awful losses, and they have 2 pretty good wins. As far as stylistics go, Florida Atlantic has a ton of height. They're 79th. South Florida is 263rd. That's a big advantage. But South Florida makes up for this by rebounding aggressively offensively. They're 26th. The problem is Florida Atlantic is 34th in defensive rebounding. They're going to use that size and protect the rim on their end of the basket. So I kind of think that advantage is somewhat neutralized, just given it's hard to offensive rebound against a team so sizable and buttoned up defensively. On offense, FAU is a better shooting team. They're 69th in effective field goal percentage. Very good inside, 64th in 2-point percent. They shoot a fair amount of threes. Devin Vanderpool's at 37%. Isaiah Elohim is at 39%, and Xavier Pendleton's at 36%. They play a pretty diverse style of offense. They're very fast, so you'll see them in transition. They're good on the glass when they miss shots. They use a lot of pick and rolls and attack the rim that way. Primary ways to beat South Florida, you can beat them in transition and on the glass. They do have the best defender in the American in Isaiah Nelson. Damian Collins and CJ Brown aren't that far behind, but you look at their total defense, 33rd inside. Their rim protection is good. They're 247th on the perimeter. FAU is good enough at shooting threes to put up shots on this defense. Meanwhile, South Florida is 186th in effective field goal percent, 195th inside, 176th from 3. They are 68th in three-point rate. They're going to shoot a ton of them, but they're only elite shooters. Joseph Pinion at 41.5%. Wes Enos has regressed a little bit of late. He is at 35.5%. But South Florida is going to try to beat you on the glass. I don't think that is the best way to play against FAU. They attack the rim. They kick it back out for threes. Florida Atlantic has pretty good numbers defending all of those areas. They are actually pretty decent on defense themselves at 76th, 71st inside, 240th on the perimeter. Devin Vanderpool, Devin Williams, these are their top overall defenders on the team. And Williams is 6'10", pretty good size. Mentioned both teams are extremely fast. South Florida, they don't turn the ball over themselves, and they are 90th in turnovers committed. So this is a really good team. They're not turning it over. They're forcing a fair amount of turnovers. Florida Atlantic is 211th in turnovers committed. So that is a potential advantage. But they kind of get it back in fouls. South Florida is 292nd in fouls committed. So Florida Atlantic will turn it over. South Florida will foul a lot. It's kind of a wash on the periphery. Model has this FAU 79.5 to South Florida 84.3. That gives us a tiny amount of value on Florida Atlantic. I was a coward and just missed this +6. Was worried about it last night, so just didn't play it. And on that, we have projections for all of the games, usually the night before, if not at least the morning of. Project sides totals, player projections for all the major games down to points, rebounds, assists, minutes, steals, blocks, you name it. Discord's available below if you're interested. Another Big Ten game. Oregon takes on Washington. Washington is a 9-point favorite at home, 146.5 total. This is ballooned so far because Oregon's two best players are out. Extended absences for Jackson Shellstad and Nate Biddle. For Washington, Wesley Yates and Desmond Claude are both probably not going to play in this game. We'll see. Kind of just, I don't know. Weird situations with both. They did get back Ognesevic, which is solid, so it gives him another player, especially in the front court and on the wing. But still kind of a weird game because of the injuries. Oregon is 86th overall. They're 8-11. Their season is a disaster for their expectations. They lost to Rutgers on the road. Otherwise, like Rutgers is 158th. Their other two losses, if you're ranking them as far as worst losses, are Creighton and USC. That's number 52 and 51. They have a lot of top 50 losses. It's still probably too many, but the real problem with the schedule is they have a single top 100 win, and it was against number 98 Hawaii. They also have only have one road win, which was against Maryland. Now, this road trip is not crazy, but it is what it is. Washington has jumped to 49th. They are 10-9, have been very hurt this year. Worst losses are to Colorado and especially Seattle, who's 120th. The rest of their losses are top 52, so you got 7 in the top 50 for Washington. Top 100 wins over Nevada, Ohio State. It's decent. They have another win over 51 USC, so that kind of is what it is. But overall strength of schedule for these teams, Oregon is 13th, Washington is 8th. So it's been a tough road. They just don't have a lot of the marquee wins. Oregon is 221 at shooting. They're outside the top 200 in every major metric. They take a ton of threes. They're horrible at shooting them. Because of their injuries, TK Simpkins at 37% is really their only viable shooter. You lose a ton of spacing without Biddle. They still are largely playing in their front court through Sean Stewart and Kwame Evans. Washington's best area of defense is their rim protection with Frank Kepping and Hannes Steinbach. And now you don't have the floor spacers to pull those guys out. Washington is 67th in total defense. This is probably going to be an advantage for them. Meanwhile, Washington 224th in effective field goal percent, also not a very good shooting team. But instead of sort of being balanced and bad, they're decent inside, 147th, horrible at shooting threes. They seem to be aware of this. They're 299th in three-point rate. No one on the team is hitting more than 34%. Their best offense is largely coming through post-ups with Steinbach and Kepping, and when they miss, just rebound and scrambling. Oregon's getting increasingly vulnerable inside. They do have Kwame Evans, who's their only top 50 defender who's healthy right now, but losing Biddle hurts. They're still 161st inside. It's not very good for this team looking forward. Neither team forces turnovers. Washington is a little better handling the ball. Oregon will turn it over, so maybe you get some unforced stuff. Fouls don't project to play a major role. Tempo's pretty slow. Oregon 255th, Washington 194th. We basically have this right on the line. I've been somewhat impressed that Oregon has been able to keep it close against teams like Michigan without Biddle and Shellstad, but I mean, this team is just overmatched really in every game they play. The real lean in the game is Washington -9. I don't know if I can get there, but this is it's a tough game because of the injuries. But we'll leave it at that, and we will play our last game. Southern Illinois, Evansville. It's -4 right now, or 3.5, so you could find out there. I took a 2.5 last night. We currently make the number 4.5, so it's playable. The number for the total is 143. A lot of injuries in this game, and we don't know who's coming back. For Southern Illinois, Isaiah Stafford's missed their last 3 games. Calron House has missed their last 2. For Evansville, Keyshawn Porter has missed their last 4 games, and Connor Turnbull has missed their last 4 games. To keep this simple for you, the more impactful absences are on the Evansville side, largely Turnbull. He's their best defender by far. So to get here, Southern Illinois is ranked 136. Evansville is ranked 287. Southern Illinois is 8-12. They don't really have a lot of poor losses. Their worst ones are to Drake at 156 and Valpo at 160. They are 2-8 since mid-December, but they do have wins, top 100 wins, over 97 High Point and 64 Belmont. They have a couple road wins. The strength of schedule is 84th. This is a respectable body of work considering who they've played. Now, on the other side, Evansville is 287. They've played a tough schedule too, 81st. But they're 5-15. They have worse losses to teams like Charleston and Western Kentucky. Those teams are outside the top 170, just barely. And the real problem is they do not have a top 200 win. Their best win is against Indiana State, who's 210th. Stylistically, both teams are decent in terms of height. Evansville's taller, they're 37th. Southern Illinois is 136th. But Evansville's 301st in rebounding. Southern Illinois is 124th. This is a big gap for the shorter team. It's kind of hard to reconcile when that happens, but some teams are just better. Southern Illinois is 233rd in effective field goal percentage. Evansville's 315th. Inside, both these teams are horrible at shooting threes. The real advantage comes from Southern Illinois' efficiency at the rim. They're 123rd. Evansville's 256th. And Southern Illinois knows they can't shoot. They're 360th in three-point rate. Evansville has not figured that out. They're 149th. And Southern Illinois actually does have a 40% shooter in Damian Mayo. He only has 53 attempts, so take that with a grain of salt. But Southern Illinois, they win in transition. They score a lot in the mid-range. Evansville's really bad at defending both of those areas. And they are 151st in total defense. The problem is the rim protection here. If Connor Turnbull misses his 5th straight game, he's easily their best defender. So this could be another, and I don't think he's going to play. They're 239th in the interior defense with him. Without him, this is a disaster. We mentioned the shooting woes for Evansville outside the top 250 everywhere. Joshua Hughes does hit 38% of his threes, but only on 60 attempts. Evansville plays through their front court. They attack the rim. Southern Illinois has decent interior defense. 78th overall. They're better on the perimeter. Their 3 best defenders are all wings, but they're still 174th in interior defense. Believe it or not, that's better than Evansville, who dwarfs them. In the periphery, Southern Illinois is 224th in turnovers forced. That might be enough against Evansville, who's 341st in turnovers committed. This team cannot handle the ball. Evansville does have a slight edge via fouls, but not enough. Tempo-wise, it's pretty good. Southern Illinois, 77th. Evansville, 160th. We currently have this 72.3 for Southern Illinois, 68 for Evansville. So there's still enough value here if you want to play it. We took a 2.5, slightly juiced, and that is where we will stay. If you have any recommendations, requests for tomorrow or Tuesday, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, we'll be back again tomorrow talking to them with a short slate. But until then, good luck, everyone. We will see you next time.